The World Cup looks like football, but that may be the least important thing about it, because when billions watch the same event, it stops being a tournament. It becomes power, not just a game. Crowds see glory, fans see history, nations see pride. But behind every giant spectacle, there is always another version. The version built on pressure, money, and control. And the World Cup may be one of the clearest examples on Earth. People talk about tactics, about goals, about legends, but football has always had darker stories around it too. Stories of threats, stories of intimidation, stories where one bad result did not feel like just a bad result, because once emotion becomes this big, fear enters the room. And sometimes the fear does not stop with the player. Sometimes the pressure feels personal, too personal. The kind of pressure that makes people wonder how far obsession, anger, and hidden interests can go when a single match means money, status, and national humiliation all at once. The betting shadow. Then comes the part almost everyone pretends is normal. Betting. A global ocean of money built on one pass, one mistake, one red card, one goal. And once that much money surrounds a match, some people stop watching football as sport. They watch it as opportunity. Think about what that means. A missed penalty changes emotions, but it also changes odds, live markets, panic, profit. So when the whole world is screaming at the screen, someone else may be watching the same moment very differently. Who needs the result? That is where the event begins to feel darker, because the question is no longer, who played better? It becomes, who needed that result? Who lost money? Who made money? Who wanted chaos? Who benefits when millions are too emotional to ask deeper questions? The players are visible, the coaches are visible, the fans are visible, but the most important people in a global spectacle are often the ones nobody sees. The people behind contracts, influence, access, pressure, narratives, the people outside the frame. Politics. And then there is politics, because the World Cup is never protected from power. It attracts power. Governments want the image. Institutions want the legitimacy. Brands want the audience. Networks want the control. By the time the first whistle blows, the event is already bigger than football. That is why the cameras matter so much. They show tears, anthems, slow motion glory, unity, beauty. But the cleaner the image becomes, the more people should ask what was cleaned out of it, because spectacle is strongest when it hides its machinery. Mafia. And whenever money, betting, secrecy, and influence grow around sport, one word always returns: mafia. Maybe not in the movie version people imagine, but as networks, as invisible pressure, as people who do not need to be seen to shape outcomes around the game. And that is what makes the topic dangerous. Not certainty, but plausibility. Maybe the real tournament is not only happening on the pitch, maybe it is also happening in boardrooms, in private calls, in betting movements, in image control, in decisions the public never hears. And if that is true, then the match the fans watch is only one layer of the event. Football, money, fear. What controls the World Cup more? Football, money, or fear? Maybe the answer is more disturbing than that, because football is the face of the event, the reason billions gather around their screens, the emotion, the anthem, the goal, the dream. But money may be the engine behind everything else. It is what pulls in governments, sponsors, broadcasters, media networks, betting systems, global attention. And then there is fear, maybe not as the main force, but as the pressure that appears when the stakes become too big, too much money, too much politics, too much public emotion. That is when fear enters the system. So maybe the World Cup works on 3 different levels. On the pitch, football. Behind the curtain, money. And in moments of extreme pressure, fear. That may be the structure people do not want to admit. Because once an event becomes this large, it is no longer shaped by sport alone. It is shaped by influence, by image, by interests bigger than the game itself. And that leads to the darker possibility. Maybe football is still the center of the spectacle, but no longer the center of the system. So here's the question that matters most. Is football still the final purpose of the World Cup, or has it become the product at the center of a global system built on money, influence, pressure, and power? And if that is true, then what really controls the World Cup more? Football, money, or fear?